Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to this limited series of Yuletide Merriment for the month of December. We're going to begin by discussing decor and some of the symbolic meaning of it, because Yule is a really beautiful time of year. But our decor that we have around us, it's more than just something pretty to brighten up the space. Some of our decor has ancient origins and well-established meaning. Others are more recent developments that have taken on particular association. But regardless, all of our Yule decor can be appreciated for its spiritual properties. And this won't be hugely exhaustive. We're just going to be going on some common things that most, if not many, people have. And it's all going to be kind of this very rainbowy, Whoville, Dr. Seuss kind of color scheme. Because on the day when I was preparing this presentation, I had seen one too many YouTube videos of sad beige moms who thought that the epitome of a Christmas cheer was to do everything in white. You know, that really bright white where, you're inside the house, but you think you might need some sunglasses. And it's all very busy, but somehow it feels like the space is undone and overdone all at the same time. Awful, awful, awful. So I had a knee-jerk reaction, and now welcome to all the colors possible in the crayon box. But let's begin. We begin, of course, with the tree. Now, for us pagans, the Yule tree, is really a symbolic stand-in for our conception of the world tree. How all the realms of existence are all tied in together. And evergreens, we use them not only because they're what's available and what looks good during this part of the year, but also because they represent immortality and life and rebirth and fertility, vitality, prosperity, good health, and renewal. All of these things that we're craving. And that cone kind of shape for the tree, that puts specifically witches and wizards in mind of the cone of power, through which energy is channeled. And the stereotypical witch's hat, that's also kind of a representation of the cone of power. It has the same sort of shape with the Yule tree. It also makes us think of the witch's pyramid, which is a metaphor for the building blocks of our faith and capabilities. So the tree, even if we don't have any ornamentation on it that necessarily screams "I'm a pagan," it is having a lot of pagan symbolism by the very essence of its being. So next up, let's actually talk about those ornaments. Now, once we started bringing in greenery and trees, into the homes, we started decorating them, and our ornaments. Once upon a time, they were also often largely made of food, and it was intended to feed any of the various forms of fae that might have taken refuge in the Yule tree, and you just kind of take care of them through the season. Today, we can use our religious symbols, things like our pentacles or Thor's hammer or whatever is meaningful to us, and we can use them as ornaments. We can also make use of ornaments that are, commonly available that we can get anywhere, that really do fit our personal aesthetic. And speaking of aesthetic, if your room has particular personality and color scheme, I would encourage you to tailor your Yuletide decorations around what already exists. It will look nicer, it will fit in more naturally, and you can still work in symbolism and different things that are very meaningful to you in your path while still not contradicting what's going on in the rest of the room. It makes it for a more peaceful environment. So I mean, do what you want, of course, but that's my 2 cents. Um, and another thing to think about especially with us putting in the ornaments and making the tree as beautiful as possible, is that winter can be a very bleak season. And when we put the ornaments on the tree, this is a deliberate creation of beauty, and it represents hope in the spring to come and life renewed, and having a bit of fun, as winter is setting in, and something for us to look back on, as the winter does get into its a little bit more of its austere mood. This is about giving us up. We're postponing that. We're postponing the seasonal depression with that. Then garland, because before it was customary to bring actual trees indoors for Yule and other solstice-related celebrations, people would cut bits of evergreen and make, garlands and whatnot, and they brought it in to freshen and brighten the house. And that freshening the house is very important because, before modern cleaning equipment, before windows were really practical for houses, especially in northern climes, winter was very dark, and there wasn't a whole lot of cleaning going on, and things could get very stuffy and very unpleasant. So having that scent of the evergreen, it helped make the space better. And from there, Strings of garland that really came into being, and now it's really customary to add them to our festive decorations. We drape them on our staircase railings. We hang them, outside around doors or on our porches, and we use them as the backdrop, for other Yule decorations on pieces of furniture. I mean, the uses for garland are really only limited by our imaginations. And of course, depending on the species that we use, even if it's a artificial, whatever species it's representing, that does bring its magical properties into the home. Obviously, more so if we have the genuine article, but it really isn't always practical for us to have. I cut this from a section of evergreen and we brought it to the house. It's not usually really practical for most of us. So, but we can still have representations of it, and that representation still does because. It can serve as a symbol of that energy, and we can still get some benefit of it, even if it's not the greatest benefit. Then the wreath. Wreaths represent the wheel of the year, completed cycles. Wreaths are a very common sign of welcome to anyone who comes calling at the door. And we are more prone this time of year to have visitors, whether it's family, whether it's friend, whether it's a neighbor who, we kind of say hello to them from time to time, past the time of day. They might bump in and say, oh, I was baking banana bread and I thought I'd give you an extra loaf. Nice little, short visits like that, and a wreath is something that can welcome them in and make them feel a little bit more at home. And of course, wreaths, they can be constructed of any available material, natural or artificial, and you make them up in any way that suits your preference. If you're making a display on the porch, I would advise making sure that your wreath is in harmony with your porch decorations. And you can even have small little representations of deities or symbols that are carefully woven into it. People can be very creative. It doesn't have to be just the commonplace ornaments that we see in this picture, although there's nothing wrong if you go that route. And also, if you're working any kind of color magic, if you are going especially with a very colorful theme, think of all of the different energies those colors represent. There's so much scope of possibilities for magical workings with this. I really encourage you, be imaginative. The thing is never just the thing, is it? Then the lights, the lights that are everywhere. All of this extra lighting, it is a means of us fighting off the darkness at this time of year. It's also one of the ways that we symbolically encourage the sun to return and to gain strength again. And the lights are also a reminder of our dependence upon the sun in order to sustain all life. And it can encourage us to reflect upon this vital cycle of existence. And let's be honest, it can be really pretty. And does the pretty is actually is enough of a reason, but it also has symbolism with it. And then last but not at all least, the center of our Yuletide season, the altar. And that really is the ideal place for us to add all items of symbolic relevance to our paths. And it's a place where if you don't have a fireplace, where you could make a display of your Yule log, you can actually drill little sections out to where you could put in taper candles or the little tea lights. You can pretty it up. You can hang the mistletoe over your altar if you don't have a handy doorway. You can decorate it with the garland. You can have solar symbols, other kinds of candles, florals. You could have the fake snow, or you could have a jar of collected snow. That is contained, so it doesn't get everything wet. You can make corn dollies or you have representations of deities that are important to you at this time of year. Bells, any and everything. This is if you're going to go all out anywhere, going all out on your altar. That I think that's a wonderful thing to do in honor of the occasion, and of course, a lot of these symbols that will really depend upon what kind of pagan path you're on. Are you on more of the Nordic side? Are you Hellenistic? Are you in the Celtic realms? Are you a practitioner of witchcraft? Are various people in your family? Do you have slightly different but interrelated paths? The altar is really a place where you can all come together and express these things. So, when you or as you are decorating, take the moment to really reflect upon the meanings of the decor that you have. Arrange it thoughtfully, and if you've already done with all of your decor, which it's the 6th of December, a lot of people it's done. They have accomplished. The house is decorated. They have done what they're going to do. Even then, if you're not still in undergoing that process, you can still look around, and it's visual reminders to reflect upon things. And this season is about a lot of reflection. And that's really the part of the preparation we do before we get into the actual 12 days of Yule, which I will be discussing a fair bit on this channel. So stay tuned for that. And next week, we're going to be talking in this video series about how we can rewrite familiar Christmas songs, because sometimes we don't really come across, or we're just not aware of pagan artists that are doing songs that are really honed in and representative of our interpretation of this season. Sometimes the songs they do produce, while beautiful, aren't exactly something you can sing along with very easily. And sometimes they created something that filled a hole, but they weren't necessarily the most gifted singer, they weren't necessarily the most gifted musician, and you'd like something that's a little bit more elevated than that, even though you do appreciate them putting themselves out like that. And that's where the traditional and the familiar Christmas melodies really come in, because you can find instrumental versions of them, you can buy them, you can find them for free on YouTube, and you can use that as a backdrop for your own sing-alongs, and you can substitute in appropriate lyrics. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So I hope you come back for that. I hope you come back for the next few videos on this series, where we're just going to have a nice, fun, relaxed time of the season, enjoying things as they move along. And yeah, and be sure to tell me in the comments what your own plans are, how you go through your thought process of what decorations you choose, what they symbolize to you, how it ties in with your tradition, how it ties in with your own insights. Let me know all about it. You don't know who you might be inspiring in the comments, so don't be shy. Speak up there. But that will do it for now, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.